Welcome back to another episode of the EIC Marketing Experience. I'm Dustin Trout.
And I'm Eric Gleason.
And today we're going to talk about brand identity and why it's important.
We're going to kind of discuss how you can figure out your business's brand identity, how that shows you what content you need to create, and then where to show it, and also how knowing your brand identity helps your business overall.
So appreciate you tuning in. Sweet. So yeah, you've been doing quite a bit of research on it. So we've been going over the 4 pillars of what we offer: the brand identity, content production, distribution, and measurement. And so this hits on the brand identity. So I guess overall, what would you say brand identity is?
Well, from some of the research, I know there's a bunch of things in that area. So I just want to go over them kind of first. There's branding, and then brand identity. And I thought it was kind of helpful, figuring out your brand. It's how everyone else sees it, the perception of the company.
And what does that include? Is that the tone, how they sound on social media, or is that the logos, the colors, the looks and feel? I guess what would that include, or what does that look like?
I believe just kind of what you're putting out. So I guess look and feel of it, as well as if they're hearing things about it, things like that.
Sweet. And then what were some of the other ones that?
There's branding, which is what you're doing to basically, what you're marketing to put out there to kind of shape your brand to how you want it. Like oil company, if a bunch of oil spills, you're probably not putting that out there on purpose. You're going to put out how you're helping the earth be green.
Yeah, or preventing those types of things.
And then basically then there's brand identity, which is kind of a mix of everything. It's a collection of all the brand elements, which kind of what you talked about before too, just colors, logos, things like that. Everything that the company creates to put out the image that they want.
It's almost like it's not just a brand, it's a persona, or it's an actual audience, or think of it as a human being, and kind of I don't know what it kind of sounds like, what it sounds like to me, and kind of what I think of branding is. I mean, most companies offer either a product or service that help with a solution to a particular problem. It's then, how do we communicate those problems, and how do we communicate our solutions to those problems? So what does that communication look like? Do we take a funny approach, a serious approach? What do we look like when people see us as a solution? Are we mainly geared towards men, women, children, older demographics, who are basically, it's identifying the audiences that would be in line with the product or service that you're offering. And it's basically figuring out the problem that you're solving, and then once you have the problem that you're solving, it's what audiences or what different demographics does this actually reach, and then it's a matter of how do we sound, how do we look to these different personas or audiences. Is that's what it is to me. Is that kind of what you're getting from it, or? Yeah,
essentially, a lot of stuff is talking about. They're focusing on one. One example was Buffalo Wild Wings. They're looking for the male that's over 21, maybe around 30, in between there. So they're loud, bright colors. They're funny, but not. They're not offending anyone with it. Mm-hmm. Just silly jokes. But to get the attention of that person, that then hopefully will bring in all their friends to watch a game or a fight or something like that.
Definitely. So you brought up a good point. Like you mentioned, Buffalo Wild Wings, their main target is men. Saw something with something come up in the news recently with Victoria's Secret, and people are bashing them because they're not, basically they're only going after slimmer models and not plus size. And I don't know, to me it's know your lane, know the audience that you want to hit. Do you agree or disagree with, do you agree that they should try and hit every audience, or do you think that...
No, you play to your strengths. It's not up to a business to cater to everyone if they don't want to.
Yeah.
it's they have to produce the product, so it's more costs on them. And if they only do certain sizes because for whatever reason the manufacturing process that keeps the cost down, like that's an opportunity for other brands to pop up and basically take that part of the market.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So what these people want, do you want one company to have everything, or why not have a couple different companies that creates opportunity for everyone and do what they want? Like I don't think people should force a business to offer a product or service to a certain demographic. I mean, like you said, it's not just appeasing people, it's then like logistically, what do we do to create this for them? And then it's a whole thing, and you have to then create marketing campaigns around reaching them, and it's a lot. It's not just, yeah, I guess that sounds good, let's just produce it and go with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it almost sounds like people are trying to make them seem like they're discriminating, but like,
that's marketing.
If you, yeah.
Not in a negative way, but I mean, there's a lot of stereotyping.
If someone wanted to wear one of those, they could. They may not fit it at the time, but they could. It's not like, we're just not going to give it to this race.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, that's super important. I mean, all these big companies, that's the one thing that is apparent is that they have their target market that you want to go after. The Buffalo Wild Wings, the Victoria's Secret, everyone knows the audience they go after. And I think that's huge in growing your business, because I mean, if you're throwing Facebook ads or TV ads and all this stuff out there, you're just throwing stuff out there. But if you don't know who your audience is, you're not producing the creative or the communications that speak to that audience. So then you're kind of just throwing a bunch of darts in the air and hoping they land. And so, it's super important, because the brand identity, who you are, the solutions that you bring to the table, and the audiences that would buy from you, then that fuels what type of content do you produce, where do we show these ads, where it then starts formulating your overall marketing strategy in what we want to say or show these audiences, and it leads to sales. And so I guess what are some of the tips, or what are some of the things that you're finding to help figure out brand identity? How can brands help figure out their own brand identity?
Well, I mean, the one thing definitely wanted to point out too, like, why it's definitely important, because like you said, thinking of it like a person, to a company that doesn't know their brand is kind of like that fake person, and you've probably, like, I hope everyone has met one to appreciate the genuine people. But it's that person that they like every single thing you like, they hate everything you hate, and you can never tell if they're telling the truth or not. And like, to me, that's never someone I trust.
Yeah, and even then, it's like whenever you want to hang out with someone, they're not the first person that comes to the mind. Like, I don't mind hanging out with them, but I'm not going out of my way to hang out with them. Yeah.
And so, like, if you think of it like that too, generally you're not going to buy from anyone you don't trust. And so a brand like that, like, they say they have the most premium ingredients, but they're also the cheapest. Yeah. Because those are the things you were looking for, and you just saw them, and logically that can't happen.
Yeah. Nope, that's right. It's either one or the other, and that's, again, figuring out what solution you bring. If it's not the best quality, but you have the best price, maybe that's going to be a different audience that consumes that than if you have premium ingredients, premium quality with that premium price. Those are two different people that would consume and actually buy from you. So, yeah. So
I want to ask you then. So, say someone comes in now, what would be the first things that you would want to ask them if they were asking about the brand identity? Like, they didn't know what to do or really what theirs was.
Yeah.
What would be the first things that you would, like, kind of questions or ask them?
Yeah. No, I love it, because this is something in particular in brand identity that I've been trying to think through, because it's one of the hardest to kind of wrap your mind around, because it's not like blog production or emails where it's something tangible that you get. And so I think, I've mentioned a couple times where it's figuring out what solutions you bring for what problems. The best companies or the best ideas are things that solve problems, everyday problems. So my biggest thing would be, what is the biggest problem in the world that you're helping solve? And then once you can identify that, whatever products or services that may be, then it's, okay, so who or what types of people have this problem? Well, there's the single moms, there's the grandparents, there's the kids, there, whatever it may be, and then we can start getting an idea of the different types of audiences that would actually find value in this solution for the problem that they're solving. Once you can narrow it down to those audiences, if it's primarily older, rich people, then it's a matter of, okay, well, what do we need to say and where do we need to say this on? It's going to be more newspaper or TV or more traditional avenues. But if it's a problem that you're solving that's more aligned with a millennial or younger demographic, then it's going to be more social and digital assets. And so it's really getting into what are you helping the world with? And then once that helps me then understand who actually understands like what their business is impacting overall. And that's primarily, who my goal, what we want to partner with is not people that are just there to make money, but like, what difference are you trying to make in the world? And then someone that can clearly understand that can then help translate into what audiences would then consume their content or buy from them. And then that then leads to the discussion with, well, now that we know that, what are you doing or saying to them to then get your solution to their pain point? And then that starts leading the strategy of what have you done? Have you thought about doing this? And so I think the biggest thing, going back to your point, long-winded answer, but I think the biggest thing would be just kind of what problems do you solve? Once you can identify that, then it's who has these problems. And then that starts the discussion with identifying the audiences that would be within your brand. That would then start defining your look, your feel, your tone, what you're producing, where you're producing it, and everything like that.
Would you bring it back to them too, and like, would their why be part of it to you?
Oh yeah, that helps us narrow it down on we have these different personas, but once you get the why, then that starts really narrowing it down to who they want to go after. Mm-hmm. So typically you're not going to go after just one audience. You're going to have a couple, but you're going to have one that you kind of stay in your lane and you double, triple down on. And the why, I guess, can help impact, like, why do you want to help with this? And then it's, well, because I've had a grandma that did this, or what, and then you kind of get their passion, and then it helps align. They're not saying it's right or wrong, but there might be another audience that might have bigger margins or bigger audience, but it's again finding the why. And then once you have the why, it uncovers like their passion of why they started the business. Then it helps you align with, okay, well, this is the audience that we want to start doubling or tripling down on, or thinking more of. We still have all these other audiences, but yeah, hearing the why. And then that also helps with just why did you, helps with those branded stories, getting the branded videos, and in today's world, everyone wants to hear your why. And that helps. Again, going back to your point on no one wants to buy from a stranger, once you have your why, it just gives someone a chance to connect with you, who you are, your values, and just, which then, again, leads the strategy and what all you produce and where you say it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the almost biggest things about just knowing your brand identity is just having that, can't think of the word, the all-around message that's the same on every platform, whether you're doing TV or digital ads, videos, radio. So like if you're saying different things everywhere, you'll probably get something.
Yeah.
But you're not really building like that loyalty because they might not know it's you.
It's funny, we actually just had this conversation with someone today that, yeah, it's like, we're not, like, our overall message as a brand is this. It doesn't matter if it's being said in Sacramento or Florida or New York. The overall what our why and what we want to do is going to be the same. Within those regions, the words and the pictures might be a little bit different, but the overall messaging is going to be the same. And to get that, you need to know your why, and why did you become a business, and what problems are you trying to solve. And then, yeah, to your point, there's so many where if you don't know who you are, what you're doing as a brand, then you start having creative with different colors and and it's just kind of all over the place. And then I guess you don't look dysfunctional, but it's just, you can see it. as opposed to someone where the look, the feel is kind of the same all across the board. It just kind of makes someone feel warm and cozy to you, and just builds that brand trust and that just cohesiveness. If they have their stuff together and they can message me properly, I'm willing to bet their process internally is nailed down, which then I'm gonna get better deliverables, better whatever it may be. It just goes to show, like, oh, they spend a little bit extra time thinking through who they are, which means they probably spend a little more time on what they deliver to me, whatever product or service that may be. The quality might be better, they might spend more time, but it kind of speaks to, are you investing into yourself? And consumers see that, and it helps lead to building that brand trust quicker.
No, I completely agree with that. I was kind of thinking the same thing, because where I worked previously, and like at one point we would do ads, and they want a different ad in every single thing, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense with marketing now, because you have to essentially show them your same company, or a person has to see the brand multiple times to build that trust. Like, especially now with online, like there's so many scams going on, or just like the fly-by-night, like website goes up, they get a bunch of money and it's down. And so like just seeing the same ad or similar ad, or a saying in it is the same, where you have that brand, like you recognize the brand from it.
Yep.
Just helps so much, to where if you're just putting different things out everywhere and trying everything else, but you don't like optimize off that or anything, you just keep trying new things constantly.
Yeah.
I don't think that really helps a ton. You'll probably get something, but it could be much better.
The cost of getting that is probably more expensive than if you had a cohesive message. And one thing you said earlier that kind of hits on this is two things. One, it used to be that you needed 5 touch points. You needed to see a brand 5 times before the average consumer would actually buy. In today's world, the last time I checked, it was like 15 or 16 times. So going back to your point where you need to reach people multiple times, if your messaging or your branding or your identity isn't in sync, someone might see your brand 15 times, but because there's so much disconnect in everything, they don't connect it. So you didn't really hit them 15 times, getting them to that overall purchase. And so having that cohesiveness, they go, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Where if you're kind of discombobulated everywhere, it's like, I know I'm in the market for a plumber, but I've seen a bunch of plumber ads, but I didn't connect those 15 that I just saw to you and your brand, which then, I mean, if you did, then it's like, oh, well, they connect the dots, they build that trust, it then leads to that phone call, that lead, that whatever it may be that helps lead to the overall sale. And so to your point, it's, you need to be hitting people multiple times, but you lose that if you don't have the cohesiveness in your messaging, your look, your feel, and all that. So, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
So, us as a brand, I mean, what would you say kind of our brand identity is? And I know we talk about it internally. I mean, I'd love to talk about it more, but I mean, we've had more and more discussions recently about who we are and all that. And is there anything that we've done that you've been like, oh, okay, now I get it, where you can help see who we are as a company and who we want based off of having more of the conversations? And what are some of those conversations?
Like, how do you...
So, I mean, as you get to know the brand more, it helps with the ads that you're creating and what we're saying. Have there been any aha moments where it's just, oh, well, now I can see that we're trying to reach these people? Or I guess what would help fuel that conversation to help a brand identify who they are better? So I guess what are some tips that you would have for a company if they were looking to...
I get, like, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying now. I think just, to me, what makes it, I think, a lot easier is just thinking of it as a person.
Yeah.
Like, when you think of it as a company, you're like, well, it's weird thinking of it as, like, strict or fun or whatever, like, even loud. Like, when you say about a company, it sounds weird, but if you just think of it as a person, it's like, think of your company as a person. Who do you want this person to be? Like, do you want them to have all the newest stuff? Do you want, like, are they high tech? Are they loud and obnoxious?
Yeah.
Are they really professional? Like, If I think lawyer, I think like professional person, like
Yep.
not so loud, like maybe jokes,
Yeah.
but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be the biggest thing and easiest thing to kind of just even get started, is just think of it as a person. What would you want them to be?
Who would be the people that would hang out with this person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you find your audience.
Exactly. And so actually I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, we haven't had too much of the how we help and stuff like that, these internal discussions when it comes to brand identity. So I guess what are some of the things that we could do to help businesses? I guess what is the process, I guess, that we could do to help a brand figure out who they are? And I think we kind of just touched on it whenever you asked me what's the question that you would ask.
Yeah, I think the easiest way would just have like a little questionnaire to, like, before we even meet with someone early on it, just have that questionnaire, or like a little PDF or something you can send them, just to even get them thinking, like, kind of on that track.
Yeah.
Just
what
to
are
make
some of those questions that you think we should include?
kind of basically what we were talking about, like, why did you get into this? Who did you want to help?
Yeah.
Because even like the bigger level ones like that, because that kind of just gets the brain rolling, and you'll probably answer a bunch more without really even knowing it. But
yeah.
like we were talking about before, like the why, and then kind of are you saying, like, who did you want to help with this? No matter what you do, you got into it generally to help someone.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
But basically, kind of put those in a little questionnaire, see what they kind of say with that, because then I feel like we get a feel of, does this person know, or do they not know at all?
Yep. Yeah. No, and that's a good point, because even if someone were to come to us and say, hey, we want to run Facebook ads and all that, when we get to the ad creation, then it's going to be, what do we want to say? And say, oh, well, what value do you bring to your audiences? And it's, again, what do we communicate to them to get them to buy? I mean, we could come up with some generic stuff, but this would help us identify, do you know who you are, and help get that conversation going.
I feel like we haven't done much with it, but I'm interested to see if it's easier or more difficult with someone who started the business themselves versus like maybe a bigger company that the person started isn't there anymore, or it's like older,
or it's just big and there's just too many departments, too many people that and I mean I've seen it working with bigger businesses at agencies where it's like, it's almost like they're so big that when you start having the conversation, it's like, I mean, I got hired to help with Facebook ads. I don't really know what our values or our mission statement is. And so, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, just internal communication and articulating that down the pipeline. But yeah, I mean, it's I mean, how many times have you worked with a small business at Ravana, where we were before, where it's like, I don't know, I just want calls, but it's like,
I just want this to work. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah, which, I mean, I hear you, but we still need some of that partnership on, like, why did you... I mean, getting that, again, just helps with the...
Yeah, exactly. Like, that would... It's like, you can come up with generic ads for, anything, but...
And look like everyone else.
Not even that, but it just may not fit. Like, you're not going to use, like, the kind of language you do for a car sale for a funeral home. Like...
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. You're not happy and excited to go to a funeral home.
Exactly. Yeah. The ones that, I mean, typically the partnerships are the best are the people that are excited about what they do. Because then it's you just have more of that partnership. See too many times where it's like, well, you guys are the marketing agency. You guys are supposed to do all this. But it's like, well, we still need your IP. We need your like, passion.
Like, we come up with the marketing, but we still need to know... like the tone of that. Like, are you a fun company? Or,
Yeah, because I mean, even that, like,
anyone can be generic.
Yeah, if we're doing the marketing and we set one tone and you give us the reins and we say something, but then all of a sudden they give you a call and they start talking to a sales rep and all of a sudden it's completely different, they're gonna be like, whoa, like, what got me to call you isn't what I'm getting, and so yeah, we'll just talk later. And so it's having that connection between the marketing to when they get to your salespeople, and it's again having that internal communication that all the departments know who you are, why you're around, and why you're a brand.
Well, and I feel like too, I mean, just the brand identity, like as a whole, can almost help you, well, in every aspect of the business. Because like, even hiring, like, are you just hiring random people who have the qualifications?
Yeah.
Or do they actually fit into what you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, you don't hire, someone that's more maybe numbers oriented and quiet and like accountant type to be your sales rep.
Yeah.
Like that may not be the best fit.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, because like you said, if they see the ad, they call in, it's a loud, friendly ad, and they call in, someone doesn't, like, barely wants to talk to them. It's
a stick in the mud.
Just big disconnect right there.
Yep. I mean, that's going to the hiring. That's what, I mean, hopefully we can do some of that in 2019, but that's what I'm more excited about, because I mean, I've been to so many job interviews where everyone's like, well, what do you know? What do you know? And I never get asked, like, why do you want to work here? Why did you do this? And like, to me, it's everything can be taught. And if you get someone's why and see the passion, you can teach whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's that's going to be longer sustainable, because they're going to have, if their why aligns with your why, it's going to create a long-term relationship, because your guys' paths cross. Like, I mean, if some people it's just about money, then go find a company that's just about money. I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's having that self-awareness and knowing who you are and why you're doing it, and aligning your organization around those same values and traits. But it's having that conversation of, who are we?
Yeah. And which, as we can see, makes everything a little bit more efficient.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's been fun figuring out our identity. I mean, at first it was just want to help anyone and everyone, and then it as we started learning how, I mean, process and other organizations and all that worked, I mean, we went from that to, I mean, we've been talking about it a lot lately, where it's, for what we want to do and help with, it's a little bit bigger than a small company. So it's identifying that, the people we want to work with, it might be a $5,000 to $10,000 minimum, but we want to help with the video and like everything that comes with it, because it's all of it going together helps fuel a ton of growth, and it's just about knowing who you are. And so it's been that transition from saying yes to anyone and everyone to really figuring out who we are as an organization and who we want to help. And it's small business is great, but getting that small, medium-sized business and scaling up where they already have they have an idea, the brand identity, but it's not nailed down. They're doing some Facebook, they're doing some of this stuff, and it's really, again, going back to, all right, now that we know who we are and who we want to help, it's identifying, all right, it's these little bit bigger businesses, and then that's helped us with, and we just launched LinkedIn targeting, where now that we know that, it's, all right, to have this budget, you need to be making this much money or this much revenue as a company, which then you need this many employees. And it, again, once you figure out who you want to help as a brand, that helps identify your personas and your targeting and all that. And so it's helped us really refine what we're saying, who we're saying it to, and the different platforms that we're on. And I mean, it's every month seems to be more and more conversations, the more and more we're figuring ourselves out. But I mean, it's that long conversation of, who are we, what do we do, and what value do we bring, and all that.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we've had to basically go through that too, because we had the other logo, we're going by a different name, like.
Yeah, and I mean, that in and of itself, I mean, I can imagine if we were 4 years in and a big company, I mean, that was big. I mean, just going from every impression counts to the EIC.agency, I mean, just getting everything, all the emails moved over, the communication with everyone. But I mean, once we started, figuring out our why and our look and our feel, I mean, at first it was just basically me, and here, this sounds good, let's run with it. But once we were able to get some legs under us and have some more conversation of who are we, what do we want to look like and feel, it's amazing how much how much different just the brand feels even just running it, because it's like I feel like we have it like narrowed down now. We have it nailed down to figure out who we are, and then as that we've been more confident in presenting ourselves and the value that we can bring, and then with that it's just led to more conversations, and it's a fun process for sure. It's definitely there's a lot of speed bumps in that, especially if you're rebranding. I mean, I could not imagine like a huge company doing it. That'd be a big undertaking. I mean, it would take a whole team to make sure everything is right. So I mean, through that process, was there anything that you learned, or any takeaways that I guess you think we've learned that we could help apply that to businesses that we help? I think just the process of figuring it out. Like, I think we're really good at doing that with ourselves. Like I know you've been a big proponent on the why, and like I'd never really heard of it that much before I think you started bringing it up. And I mean, it makes sense. I knew of it in like different terms, but like just that simple concept of what's your why. Yeah. Like, and that just like, I think we're good at talking to someone and getting that out of them, like, and then I mean from there just finding their audiences, like everything, because finding the brand identity and that why can just help in everything, but especially in marketing, because then that persona, like they're trying to help this person, so we know we can use like Facebook, we can target these interests, and we're most likely going to hit that person. And I mean, I think that's just the biggest thing I think will help, is being able to get out of people like their why. Yep, and it's amazing how many people don't take a step back to even think of that. I mean, it's amazing whenever you ask someone what's your why. I mean, what got me thinking about it is whenever it got asked to me. I mean, I had an idea, but actually articulating it in a 30-second, 60-second, like, this is our why. I've been thinking through it, the last couple months or whatever it may be. But as we've been working with more people and working together more, it's just more apparent every month, and just helps figure out everything. It helps map out your day, your month, your goals, and I mean our weekly, monthly, quarterly goals and all that, because it's once you know your why, it's where do we want to take this and what do we want to accomplish, and then reverse engineering. All right, well, this is what it's going to take to get there. This is what we need to say. This is what we need to do. It just helps you get a game plan together. And it's crazy to me too. Just, I mean, it's like, I feel like a lot of things, but it's such a simple concept. But if you can't answer it, like most people don't think about it. You might have an idea, like you kind of said, you might have an idea, but if you're not forced to actually figure it out loud, or say it, you're just like, well, loosely we do this and this and this and this and this and this, and then it's kind of like, just kind of all over the place. And then it's I mean, it's been insane since we've done the whole new website, new rebrand and all that, and kind of figuring ourselves out more, like just how much more confident I go into meetings, and just like, this is what we do. This is like, that confidence shows, and it's led to more conversations. And I mean, it just, not only just as a brand does it help you with messaging, but just your organization just is more confident with knowing who they are and who they're working with. I mean, working is a big chunk of your life. I mean, you have a 24-hour day. If you sleep for 8 hours, I mean, you work for 8 hours, that's literally 33% of your life. Like, you want to be aligned with someone that shares your same values, ethics, and all that stuff. And so if you have a hard time articulating it as a business owner or an executive level person of what your company is, imagine what the employees feel. And then what does that sound like as they're working with potential clients, your clients, and all that. And so once you can figure it out, then you maybe start having meetings on this is who we are. And that's where I think, and it's definitely getting more apparent just the why. I mean, there's a huge focus on just company culture and all that. So I mean, it's definitely becoming more and more of a thing, which I don't think it was before, but I do think nowadays too, like between people, it's kind of like two different sides of the coin. There's a lot of people that are just like workaholics trying to do
everything they can. But then you have the other side too, where people want that work-life balance. I think all that's kind of led to companies having to figure out what they're about, because like these people want maybe more vacation to get better work, because they're not as stressed.
Yep.
And companies kind of have to figure out, like, are we willing to potentially get better work, or do we just need the hours,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, that's something that, I guess that's aligned with brand identity. I mean, because me, it's just, I just want to help things grow and everyone be happy, and that's like something, I mean, we've started having those conversations now that we're getting, I mean, obviously we're still a startup, but I mean, it's like getting paid a whole lot of nothing, a lot of hours and grinding away, but I mean, that's a huge part that helps create that culture and that identity. Is like, I've been trying to figure out what is it that you guys want. I mean, I don't want to be someone's like, okay, we have to do it this way, this way, this way. It's like, what do you guys want? I mean, if you can align with what your employees want, they're going to be happier, which then produces the results. And it's which, I mean, brand identity helps set the tone. It's like, this is who we are, and it's we're not this typical agency that's like all for the money and everything like that. I mean, we're obviously, that's why we're doing this, to help put food on the table for everyone and do what they want to do. But at the end of the day, it's having that identity, and it's want everyone to be happy but have that growth as well. So it's finding that fine balance, and yeah.
I'll ask you then, so if there was like maybe one or a couple questions for a business owner that doesn't know their brand identity to just even start thinking of it or figuring it out, what would you say would be the top one or top three?
Yeah, top couple would be, what's the problem that you're solving? Why did you start this? Who are the typical people that buy from you? Who are the typical people that ask a lot of questions that don't buy from you? And then kind of those couple questions will help figure out the messaging, but also help identify your bread and butter audience, but then also the low-hanging fruit where you're getting traction but not getting sales, and this can help us quickly identify a different audience that we can start going after now, start creating those sales and increasing those overall margins that allow for more money to then go on to the next audience or whatever it may be. Those four I would say would probably be the biggest ones, and once that would at least give me enough information to start asking more questions on, what have you done? Have you tried doing this? Have you thought about doing this? And then that just starts leading to an overall discussion around your marketing strategy, and have you tried doing this? You think you can do this? And then it just leads to that, and just having a better overall conversation that scopes out work and projects. And this is something that I've also been thinking about more, is like I said, I've been wanting to go after those companies that are already spending $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month in marketing, but not asking to spend more, but just basically saying, hey, we could spend it better. And then by hearing some of those, what do you solve? What are your audience? It can then help us take that money and just spend it better, because then it's like, maybe we need to do less over here, produce more video, and being a full service agency, we can then maybe take some from here. It can help us figure out what we need to, basically creating a timeline that helps us. Month 1, we're going to work on this. 2, we're going to work on this, and just kind of paint an overall picture or timeline of what we need to do, who we need to reach, and kind of marching orders and getting the relationship going.
Yeah, I agree. And I talking about even just a little bit about the marketing, like definitely helps narrow it down so you can spend more efficiently, because I feel like a lot of people or companies will just target real general terms hoping to get everyone, and then you just end up spending a bunch of money on people who really aren't interested. And I feel like some agencies, I mean, they'll get the spend, but they're not too worried about helping the business grow as much as they are getting that spend.
Yep. And this brings a good point. This is something that I've been talking about the last week or two recently. So to your point, a lot of people go after those huge numbers. Oh, well, this audience is 2.3 million. Sweet, you only have $1,500 to spend. You're not going to reach all of them. And then it goes back to you need to reach people 15 times before they're even going to think about. So if you only have enough budget to reach 1% of the audience, like the overall audience, chances are you're not going to reach them 15 times. Right. And so making a change in overall strategy where you're making a lot more granular targeting to basically shrinking the audiences. It's going to take more work in making all the different targeting and the creative and all of that, but if you're shrinking the audiences, you know who they are. It allows you to hit that 15 times, 10 times, whatever it may be to get that sale. But then now you're creating messaging and communication that you know who they are. So it's taking a small business owner, like if we want to talk to a small business owner, we can reach all of them. Yeah, there's a ton. But if we kind of overlap people that are baseball fans, that also shrinks the audience quite a bit. We now produce creative that speaks to, hey, let's talk about your marketing strategy at a Diamondbacks game or a baseball game. Now you're figuring out who these people are, and it again, once you know your audience and who you want to go after, then it helps show the affinity that they have, so then we can produce better messaging. Once we produce better messaging, they go, oh wow, I love baseball. I would love to go to one, either free game, whatever it may be, but it just allows that communication and that conversation to go from trying to reach anyone and everyone, blanket messaging that isn't, you're going to get seen, but it's not going to produce the results, where take the time and map everything out, take the time to produce the creative, and the results come.
Well, and if you make it more personal like that, I feel like people won't come into it as much as as skeptical. Like if you get like a telemarketer, someone comes up to your door trying to sell you something right away, and like there's nothing, they don't start talking about something you like, or it's like you're more on guard.
Yeah, I mean it's anyone that's out in sales. I mean, the best salesperson doesn't sell. They ask a ton of questions. They get to know the person. Once you can figure out what their pain points are, what they like, then all of a sudden you turn your pitch into that. Like, oh, well, I mean, going back to the baseball stuff or whatever, but it's like, with these audiences that we can target, we don't even need to ask questions. We already know the answers. So now it's just, let's talk to them. Too many people are going around saying, buy from me, buy from me. And we've had this talk before. Too many people at the top of the funnel, before they even say, hey, I'm brand XYZ and this is what I do, they go, buy from me. And it's how many people are going to buy from a stranger? How many people are going to buy from someone they don't know? By knowing who you are, you can...
Especially if they don't have brand identity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, without a brand identity, you can't say, this is who I am and this is why we got here. And then once you have that, then it's like, if that aligns with the consumer, oh, okay, I like that. And then that helps get them engaged with your brand. And then once you give them all the values that you have, then you go and ask for the sale. But it's like, without having that brand identity, you can't reach out and say, hi, I'm brand XYZ. This is how we can help you. If you're always going to be out there selling, sure, you're going to get some.
Right.
But with that same budget, you can get more if maybe you spend less on the media and spend more on the creative, and then finding that fine balance where we have a couple different creative that speak individually to these consumers or to your audience, and it just leads to sales and leads whatever it may be.
Right, just a little more work, a lot more return.
Yep. Because it's, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, now that we're having this conversation, that's probably why so many people have nothing but buy from me and the whole direct response, because they don't know their why. They don't know the value that they bring. I mean, they just know that, okay, I sell this, I just want to make money.
Right.
And that's why everything is buy from me, where if you just, hello, John, I'm this, and this is why I started, and, I started because I had a family and bought, tell your story. It's like, all of a sudden they become interested in who you are, and then they start consuming more and more, and then when they're ready to make that decision, you're going to be top of mind. They're going to reach out to you, and then you don't even have to ask, buy from me. They're just going to reach out. Yeah. And so knowing who you are as a brand is super important, because then it helps introduce yourself as a brand to consumers without saying, buy from me. I mean, how many times do you get people knocking on your door that just say, buy this, and you end up buying? I mean, maybe once or twice, but the percentage of that is very smaller than...
Yeah. If you're in a rush, maybe.
Yeah. Sweet. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Are there any other questions that you had? I think we had on...
I didn't really have...
Sweet. So the moral of the story is, figure out your why you started your business, and then from there, that'll help you identify your audiences, which then leads to, here's the content we need to produce, this is where we put it on, and then comes the measurement. How much did this result into sales, leads, and all that? So if you're having problems trying to figure out who you are as a brand or an identity, just ask yourself, why did you start this, and let that kind of lead the conversation. there anything else any other tips that you had?
No, I think we kind of got it all.
Sweet. Well, appreciate the time, and yeah, would love to hear your feedback. What are some things that you have done to figure out your brand, or what are some tips that you have for other brands that can help them figure out their brand identity? Would love to hear your feedback, and can't wait to